Hi, welcome to another episode of Dr. Cammy and Karen Go Keto, where we are working on transitioning and having a different lifestyle from the standard American diet to a carnivore diet through the ketogenic diet. And a lot of people eat keto, which basically in my mind means lots of low carbs, watching your carbs. And a lot of people are eating vegetables and meat and protein and some fruit. And that's a good way to transition. We have found that carnivore is a better way to go for us at this point in time because it creates a lot of benefits for us. One of the things I really enjoy is having energy with it, focusing greater focus, and then also not ever feeling hungover or a lot of discomfort after I eat. And so I don't tend to overeat on the carnivore diet, and I'm really enjoying that. However, when I was away in the airport yesterday, I ate cookies, and we had a video where we talked a little bit about that, but we wanted to touch base a little bit more on how that came about.
Right. So Cammy had mentioned in the earlier video that she found herself searching the airport. And so there's a little story before that, and then there's the searching. So let's start backwards. You ate two cookies on the plane and one cookie while you were waiting in line to board, right?
Correct.
All right. So the cookies came from Subway, and she had been searching the airport and found the cookies at Subway. So let's find out what happened before that to set up that scenario for Cammy.
Okay, so before that, I had eaten a burger without the bun, and it had cheese on it and some aioli sauce, and I ate a little bit of lettuce with it, and it came with chips, with tortilla chips, because they did not have French fries. The fryer was broken, and I ate some of the tortilla chips. And prior to that, on the flight before that, I had eaten 2 Oreo cookies as they were passing out the Oreo cookies. And always I want to belong. It's a sense of belonging. That's the lie that I tell myself, or the excuse, or whatever you want to call it, that I want to be a part of and fit in and belong. And sitting around with 100 pounds to lose is not somebody who fits in, by the way, and belongs. Even in America, much less in a group, in a healthy environment, in a group of healthy individuals. So when I was at the airport eating the burger and chips, a man came by and drank a big shot of whiskey right next to me, paid for it, just grabbed it and gulped it down, and stood there for a couple of seconds, like about 30 seconds, paid for the bill, and then left. He didn't really sit down. And that made me think about drinking and made me grateful that I didn't drink, but also made me feel a little bit of, I guess, I don't want to say sadness, because I'm really grateful I don't do that anymore. But it's almost like a grieving in some ways, because the alcohol and food has taken care of me in so many ways and, comforted me in the past. But that's not what I'm up to now. And so the other thing that I wanted to talk about, when 2 terms, I get to versus I need to. Like, I need to do this, or versus I get to do this. And so those are the terms that I was thinking about when it came to the man drinking the alcohol. Like, I get to lead a really great life without it.
How can you say that when you need to lose 100 pounds?
Say which part of it?
That you get to lead a great life without alcohol.
I guess because it's a comparison that I do compared to my life with it.
All right, so he's drinking this drink, and you're now creating a story about, it's not a story. So you're talking about belonging and wanting to fit in.
Well, not really with the guy who had the drink. That was more
No,
about eating the
but
Oreo
about
cookie.
food. But you said that about food.
Like, I think, I'm not sure I said that here. I know that in the video before we talked about
You
the Oreo
did. You
cookies.
said, I want to belong and I want to fit in. And you said, but somebody who needs to lose 100 pounds obviously doesn't fit in, even in America.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So you said that he showed up and ordered the drink, downed it. Well, first he ordered a rum and Coke, bourbon and Coke or whatever. He just ended up not getting the Coke.
Yeah. As she walked away to make the drink, he said, just make it Jack, because I think it was
Yeah.
Jack Daniels.
Okay. So that's whiskey, I think. I don't know. Anyway, Jack and Coke, I guess, is the drink. So had you already been thinking about the looking for the cookies?
No, I don't
Where
think
was your
so.
brain? What were you thinking about the and you'd already eaten the hamburger and the chips or not yet?
I was in the process of basically finishing up the burger, and there were still a few chips left. I didn't finish the chips, but I ate too many. I was still eating some. I ate about half the chips.
Okay, so it's interesting that you first say I didn't eat all of them, but then you said you ate too many.
Yeah,
And the question is, why were you eating them at all? First
right.
of all,
Like,
right? Why
what?
is it coming out of your mouth too many? One was too many.
One was too many,
Okay, so
and a
so
thousand
why
is not enough.
why did you tell this story regarding the cookie and bring up the guy drinking at the bar? How are they connected?
I think they are connected. There was something there. When I saw him do that, I felt some discomfort. And as soon as I felt the discomfort, I wanted relief with sugar. And the other thing that I noticed is that when I got to that airport, I started kind of feeling more stress and anxiety in my body because I was getting ready to go home. I was finishing my vacation and I'm getting ready to get on a plane to go home where I have a life that I hate, according to
Hmm.
Karen. So, there's just the stress of coming back to your regular environment when you're not in your relaxed state on vacation. So I was feeling some of that too.
And then you said you didn't tell it in this story, but you told it to me earlier. There was another guy at the bar too. And what did he order?
He ordered a Tito's drink with an olive that cost $30. I saw her ring it up.
I thought he
And
ordered something else though too.
he ordered a chicken burrito for his
Yeah,
wife that was
yeah.
there. And
So
then
that was 17 or $20 right there.
the whole bill, his whole bill cost, oh, and she drank a margarita. She drank a margarita. She had a burrito. They ordered it to go because they were in kind of a hurry. He ordered the Tito's drink that was $30. And then because I was sitting right in front of the register. So I saw her ring it up and it was $72 for his bill. And I just mentioned that because money is closely associated with food in my life. It seems to be.
Well, it's also it's just kind of amazing that one drink is $32. When in the old, 60 we're in our 60s, so 30 years ago you could buy a good bottle of wine for $32 and this is
Yes,
one drink,
yes,
an olive.
yes, yes.
All right, so you finish your meal and how are you feeling?
I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling nervous because also I kind of lost track of time. I knew I need to get to my gate. So I was walking and the gates were like gates 1 through 25 were further down the hall, further down the airport. And so I landed on like gate 34 or something. And the restaurant was at like gate 26. And so I didn't realize that you had to walk around like 4 or 5 different corners to get to where the 25, 24, and 23 gates were, starting down there. And so and then I looked at my watch and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting late. I got to go get on this plane. But then I asked the bartender and she's like, oh yeah, it's just around the corner. So I went around the first corner and it wasn't there. I went around the second corner. It wasn't there. I went around the third corner and there was a Subway there. And I walked up to it and I looked at the cookies and there was a couple standing right there, like trying to figure out what to eat. And I walked up to it and I looked at the cookies and I wasn't sure if I was going to buy them or not. And then the girl comes up and she goes, oh, would you like some cookies? And I said, yes. And she said, well, which kind? And I said, one of each, because there were 3 different kinds. So she put the 3 different kinds in the bag. I bought the cookies and then I walked around. And then the airline called me and they're like, where are you? And I said, I'm coming. I'm right around the corner. And then I went around 2 more corners and I found the gate. So it was so interesting, the whole thing. It was like I needed relief. I was feeling like anxiety. I needed relief. Part of me wanted to have a drink. Part of me wanted to finish the chips. A part of me wanted to have nothing to do with any of it and to not have even started the chips. And I notice this a lot as I go through making decisions. Like part of me wants to do this. Part of me wants to do this. And that means like that my decision is not, to me, it feels like my decision is not complete, that I'm on a carnivore diet. Because if I was on a carnivore diet, these decisions would not have to be made. They would, they would already be there. And that's how I was for my trip, for my entire trip. For the 7 days I was gone in Hawaii, I didn't eat any other stuff.
So what do you think, why do you think that was? What was in place on your trip, in your vacation, that made you not need anything other than carnivore? And then the question is, what then made you eat things like pineapple?
I did eat pineapple there on 2 different occasions. I ate 2 bites over there and I ate 2 bites over there.
And when were those?
One was after we had finished kayaking and hiking and going to the waterfall and then hiking and kayaking back. And she cut up fresh pineapple for us, and she's like, "Oh, here, this is for everybody." She was cutting up the pineapple as we were getting ready to leave. And Diane and I are both like, "Oh, we don't eat that." And she's like, "Oh no, it's really sweet. It's really good. You should try a piece." And so then we had just worked hard there and back and decided we were going to try a piece. So I ate 2 pieces there. And then the other time I ate it was on the cruise when they had cookies and they had pineapple, and I ate 2 pieces of pineapple. Actually, yeah.
So
So you
I
asked
would,
me what's the difference? I think the difference is just coming back to life. Like just when you're on vacation, your goal is to relax and enjoy your life. And when you come back home, your goal is to live the life that I hate, according to Karen.
I don't say that you always hate your life. I say that when you binge, you are in a state of mind that you can't stand your life. You hate it, and that is why you do it. I don't believe that you always hate it, although I may be wrong because you just said maybe that's how you took it. So maybe you do always hate it.
Well, I do hate that I have to live my whole life losing my 2 kids. That's something I do hate. But you know,
Well, here's the thing. That thing we talked about earlier about suffering, right? There's the past when you lost your kids, and there's the present moment. And I can't imagine there's ever going to be a present moment that you think of your 2 kids and think, I'm happy, right? That's what causes sadness. But you let those waves of sadness, you feel them, right? So maybe what part of this is, Cammy, when you talk about your emotions, you are trying to, I just hear a lot of things today. You're trying to fit in a world where you're not going to fit in. You're trying to belong in a world where you're not going to belong. Because if you really wanted to fit in, you'd lose the 100 pounds, sort of, except for there's a lot of people that need to lose 100 pounds. So maybe that's not true at all, right? The thing that's unique is not eating sugar. And, there are a lot of people, even in the carnivore community, where they're like, well, if fruit works for you, if it doesn't have your body doesn't have a bad response to it, then eat fruit. And what I say to those people is the body is something, the human body is something that's nobody is ever going to understand in its entirety, ever. It's too complex. And even AI can't understand it because there's no way that AI will ever be able to understand what a cool breeze feels like, right? AI will never know what it feels like to be hungry. It can only be trained in what people say it feels like, right? So it can fudge, right? The AI could say, "I'm hungry and I'm cold." It can say it, but it never has an ability to actually feel it. That's what makes us so complex. Based on what I have seen in the carnivore community and all the things that carnivore heals and seeing things in my own life, I say, don't fall into the trap that fruit is okay. Human beings did not eat it 100,000 years ago. They didn't eat it. And I'm not even going to say that they ate it occasionally or they ate it to avoid starvation. I don't think those scenarios actually um, can mesh with an actual carnivore back
well,
100,000 years
as
ago.
they were traveling, when it came into season and it was ripe and they were there, my guess is they probably did eat some of it. But how often were they in the right place at the right time? I don't know.
But here's the thing, it's not the same perspective. That's a carbohydrate brain saying that. That's a brain of somebody who's eaten fruit since, they were 6 months old, right?
Yeah.
It's like a person 100,000 years ago First of all, fruits were three things. Fruits did not taste the same, right? They're bitter. If you've ever eaten a berry, have you ever taken a red berry off of a bush, put it in your mouth, and it was really bitter, and you spit it out?
Well, yeah, but that means they weren't ripe. If
No,
they
no,
ate,
no. They're poisonous.
oh, those red ones?
Right.
Well, those aren't the kind that you eat. They knew that.
No. So that's the thing. All of it appears that way back then, is what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. The fruit back then was not what it is today.
And because of that, because it's like giving one of you giving somebody who's 12 years old and saying, "Oh, here's a piece of paper. Fax that to your aunt." And they would be like, "What? What do you mean by fax? How do I do that?" Right? They wouldn't know how to do that. They would not even understand what it was. Not that they don't understand fruit, but fruit for people in the carnivore, back in caveman days, that was for the animals to eat. That was so things could fall off the trees and replant and make new ones, right? So that the animals, or any kind of berry or seed, that's for animals to eat so that I can eat. And here's what I think is, because a lot of people say that honey is also something that you can eat as a carnivore. And you can eat whatever you want and you can say whatever you are, right? If you want to say that you're a carnivore and eat honey, go ahead and say that. Do you know what it would be like to eat, to try to get, and not just what it would be like. You see bees, right? Bees are necessary to get plants and stuff growing. And if you have plants and stuff growing, and the bees are what pollinate it and get the things going, that mean, so that let's call them cows, because I can't remember what they're called, ibex or aurochs or something. They are the ones that eat the grass and everything, and then you eat the animal, right? Or you eat the eggs. You can eat bird eggs. Well, be it birds need the seed. So if you're eating all of the things that they need to eat and you're jumping over the food chain, you're going to now stop yourself from being able to eat those because they're not going to be available, right? If you eat all the bird eggs, there are not going to be any birds. So you can now not eat birds.
Okay, so what is your point to the story? Like, why are you bringing this up?
I don't even know anymore. So it had to do with being carnivore.
Yeah, we were talking about carnivore.
And so it comes from your perspective that your past matters, that you have to belong, and that you have to have certain emotions, and that you have to have a specific setup in your life to stick to your carnivore, right? You're eating your pineapple, and I would say the reason why you ate well on carnivore was because Diane was there. And you told Diane that you were carnivore, and she would know you were a fraud if you did not eat carnivore. That's what I think.
And then the airport was the first place that I had the opportunity to.
Well, or the pineapple, but listen to the stories that you told about the pineapple. Somebody said it was fresh and it was cut up. I mean, why was it I don't eat pineapple 1 second and I eat pineapple 2 seconds later?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know. And I understand, like, when you're cruising along in a carnivore life and all of a sudden you get this hiccup where like these two pieces of pineapple come in. I mean, I understand that those hiccups happen and you just keep pushing forward into your carnivore life. But a binge is a totally different thing for me. A binge is uh living in the past or living in the future. And that's something that I do consistently. I'm probably 90% of the time, either in the past or the future. I don't know what percentage is in the past or what percentage is in the future of that 90%, but I really need to learn how to live more in the present moment. And reading Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, is helpful to keep me there. But at least, like, I'm not high, I'm not on drugs, I'm not drinking, I'm working on getting the sugar out so that I have the opportunity to really be completely and totally present in the moment. Because you have to, in my mind, you cannot be on any mind altering drugs or substances or whatever, and to be in the moment. And that's what I really am focusing on now, is being present and in my moments, moment by moment by moment.
And I would disagree with that. And you've just taken away the power of now, because now you've set up that you have to be perfect and not under the influence of sugar or alcohol, and you wouldn't be able to be present.
Well, I misspoke then because that gives you more of an opportunity.
Because I think that if you did mind altering drugs, you would have a different perception of now, but it would still be the now. If you took some
It
ayahuasca,
would just be a different now.
it's still your now. You just have to be there, right? It's like what if instead of eating sugar, you beat your children, right? There are people out there who do that. There are people out there who hit their children, and I don't know why they do that, but I would have to say it's probably the same driving force that it has you eat sugar. They hate their lives and they have no other way of expressing the discomfort that they're living in, right? And I don't mean like you hate like your life like you're ready to jump off a cliff, but maybe because you keep getting close to the edge of the cliff or you keep saying that you want to do something because one of my friends just told me about her neighbor who has lost a lot of weight. They lost a lot of weight and now they have rectal bleeding. Well, I'm sorry, I've been through that. I can tell you it's not going to be a good diagnosis. If it's just hemorrhoids, I will be so happy to hear that. And you think that your outer body, right? Like you say, well, at least I'm not drinking, at least I'm not doing drugs. No, because you know the drink what your response was if you were drinking, or your response if you were doing cocaine, or your response if you were spending all of your money. This is the same response. It's I'm going to eat sugar. I can't stand to be, you told us you can't stand to be in discomfort.
Yeah, I don't like
That's
discomfort.
that's the reality, right? You can't, your reality is this is not comfortable. I must get out. And you won't take the time to actually define it. You won't stay in the emotion of what's discomfort. You just say, I gotta check out. And you even described your whole thing of your vacation as checking out from real life and coming back to your real life.
Well, I wouldn't agree completely with that. There are times because in these videos we bring up and talk about the times where I don't deal with my discomfort in a healthy way. So I'm going to start paying closer attention to my present moments because I know there's moments where I have suffering and discomfort and I work through them.
Well, here's the thing. What's going to change your present moment to when you tell the woman, I don't want pineapple, and she tells you it's delicious, sweet, and fresh, and I just cut it up for you, that you say, I eat pineapple.
What's going to change that?
Yeah,
You mean what's going to change me to say, well, that's great, but I don't eat it?
yeah. Well, see, and that's there you go. Why does it have to be great? All it has to be is I don't eat it.
Huh?
Nothing
Yeah.
has changed. Didn't I just tell you? I mean, you know what it is? You don't stand up for your and
Yeah.
keep your boundaries in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe it's because
For yourself.
you maybe you and see here's why I say your why's not strong enough because maybe you don't want those boundaries in place.
No, I wanted it there, but
You wanted sugary sweet more, and you know what? Diane said you could have it, so you did, right? She joined you in that sneak.
well, there was also a feeling of belonging there too. A lot of it's the same stuff. It's the same feelings that come along. It's like, I don't want to feel discomfort. I don't want to deal with suffering. I want to belong. I want to feel connected. And,
You go ahead.
and a lot of times that's the scenario that will get me to eat the pineapple. Or if I'm in a lot of discomfort, I'll go eat cookies.
What was the other pineapple episode?
That was on the cruise ship. They just had a couple of little slices on our plate and they handed you your plate. They also had a big ball of rice and I didn't eat that.
And what was the reasoning? What caused you to eat the pineapple but not the rice?
Because there was a big ball of rice, and if I started eating the rice, I was afraid I would just eat the whole thing. But there were only two very small pieces of pineapple slices. And I did eat all that, which was two small pieces.
Okay, so how would you what so why was it okay in your mind to eat all of the pineapple but not all of the rice?
Well, because the pineapple, eating the two small slices of pineapple was not going to make me feel as bad as I would if I ate all that rice.
In what way?
Physically, mainly, bloated and too full, and then I would get too tired afterwards, and I had to drive home after the cruise, and that would make me feel more like I'm binging as opposed to just sneaking 2 little pieces of fruit.
So why don't you give up the carnivore lifestyle?
Because I think that in the long run, it's, healthy for me to eat.
And why is it
And I like the effects. I like how it makes me feel
then why do you eat the pineapple?
because I wanted to enjoy it and it was there and I wanted to belong and I wanted something sweet and it was, part of the plate and everybody else was eating it.
Was everybody else in a position where they needed to lose 100 pounds?
No,
Do you feel that needing to lose 100 pounds makes you special?
not really. Sometimes I guess. It makes me different. It makes me often feel like I don't belong. It makes me feel safe in a twisted sort of way because it's really unhealthy. It's not safe in a healthy way.
So I have my own struggles in deciding whether or not to join the gym. I told you I was joining the gym, right?
Yes, you did tell me that like, I don't know, 6 weeks ago or something.
Well, I didn't tell you the whole new thing that I'm joining it today.
No, you didn't tell me that. Do we want to talk about that in our next video?
We could stop this one and talk about it. It's kind of boring, but I don't know, maybe maybe you'll hear something in it.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you when we're
All
talking
right.
about the gym with Karen. Bye.